when I talk about how it feels, it doesn't really matter in November what the, what the headlines and what the politicians are trying to tell us about what the definition of recession is, or what the actual CPI is, or what the actual unemployment rate is. What matters is how people feel at that time. And I think there's a lot of people right now who are having enough trouble just making ends meet that they're not really taking those headlines as gospel anymore.
Yeah. Well, so you bring up some really good points here. So I'm a Gulf Coast boy, right? So I grew up with, Hugo, Carla, Alicia, and I lived in a little town right on the coast. So, I mean, my house got flooded 3 times, and, I watched oak trees spun out of the backyard, just crazy stuff because of a hurricane. But you're right about the hurricane. If you go back and think about it, right, it always starts as a tropical storm first.
Right.
And becomes a tropical depression, then it becomes a hurricane, right? So to your point, there's stages of this that goes through. Now, when you're in the tropical depression stage, it's not a hurricane, right? But if you're, where the tropical depression is, it ain't great, right? So to your point, very similar. And this is what I mean by, right now we're not in a, the first 2 quarters won't likely get counted as a recession because of the unemployment report. Right. So employment's been strong enough. The NBER will probably say, not a recession. And that's okay. Right. Because again, the recession, and to your point, right, the recession is still coming. And the reason that is because, again, all the stuff that's going on right now is running a 9 to 12 month lag. Fed rate hikes. We talked about this, I think, last week. When the Fed hikes rates, it takes 9 months for it to show up in the economy. So that means the rate hike in March won't even show up till the end of this year in terms of tightening monetary policy in the actual economy, right? Now you've got 50, 75, another 75, another 50, whatever it is coming down the pike. So all those are going to stack up on the economy in 2023. Monetary supply. So we had a massive increase in the M2 money supply in 2020, 2021. That year-over-year rate of change has now gone negative in money supply. There is a very high correlation between money supply, economic growth, and inflation on a 9-month lead, right?
So and asset prices.
And asset price. In 9 to 12 months, that negative rate of monetary growth will show up in inflation and economic growth. So my whole point about this is that be careful what you wish for here, because if you're calling Q1, Q2 a recession, this employment report, the ISM manufacturing index, non-manufacturing index just ticked up here in the last month. We've got back to school shopping. We've got some other stuff going on that could very likely pin us a Q3 quarterly GDP report that may be a 0.5% growth. And everybody and all the media is going to go, see, told you, wasn't a recession. Right? That wouldn't be surprising to see a positive GDP growth going into midterm elections. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Now, you get a couple of quarters of economic growth, everybody's feeling good about it, and then all this other stuff hits, and then you're going to have your recession, your spike in unemployment, jobless claims, all that will occur in 2023. So for me, the way the data is stacking up, it looks like the tropical depression will become a hurricane sometime in Q1, Q2 of next year.
If you enjoyed this video clip, click here to watch another one you should like.